Earth 10 or Earth X is one of the numerous Earths in the multiverse where the Nazi Party won the Second World War and they were successful in conquering the whole world decades after. In this parallel reality, we see Nazi versions of our primary DC heroes and a vision of a world without freedom, dominated by the ideologies of Hitler. From creating mind control stations into maintaining breeding centers and the Holocaust, Earth X certainly gave a depressing picture of an alternative history on what if the Allied forces did not win the war, or what if our superheroes do not share our beliefs. Welcome to DCNES, and let's get to know the interesting characters in this Nazi-dominated Earth X. There are 5 versions of the Nazi universe of DC. First is the pre-crisis version called Earth X, first seen in Justice League of America number 107, published in 1973. Second is the post-crisis version called Earth 10, where we see a blonde Superman and a red-haired Wonder Woman in Countdown to Adventure series, published in 2007. Third is the New 52 version, also called Earth 10, which was published during the Multiversity series in 2015, and can be roughly connected to the Freedom Fighter series, published in 2019. Fourth is the Arrowverse version seen during the Crisis on Earth X crossover TV event by CW in 2017, that is connected to the animated film Freedom Fighters: The Ray of 2018. And fifth is the DCAU version, also called Earth X, seen to be a crossover to the DC animated universe, published in 2021. In the pre-crisis Earth X version, the President of the United States had a heart attack in 1944, which quickly tilted the governmental balance of power. By the time the US created the atomic bomb, Germany already had it first. Nazi scientists came up with mind control rays broadcasted from different stations on different parts of the world that manipulated the entire planet except for the freedom fighters. It also has a central satellite orbiting the Earth. The Nazis became victorious and continued to conquer many countries. They also double-crossed their erstwhile Axis partner Japan and turned this technology on them as well. The pre-crisis Earth X reintroduced Golden Age heroes from Quality Comics such as Uncle Sam, Phantom Lady, Black Condor, The Human Bomb, Dollman, and The Ray. Quality Comics was an American comic book publishing company which operated from 1937 to 1956 and has been a significant contributor to the golden age of comics. After its closure, many of Quality's characters and title trademarks were sold to National Comics Publications, now called DC Comics. During the Crisis on Infinite Earth saga in 1985, Earth X died from the antimatter wave. During the Convergence storylines, the pre-crisis freedom fighters from Earth X were revived and made to fight the robots from the Futures End timeline and the Nazi soldiers. The post-crisis version is called Earth-10. It is one of the 51 divergent realities that branched from the core New Earth reality during the recreation of the multiverse shortly after the Infinite Crisis storyline of 2005, which was a sequel of the 1985 Crisis on Infinite Earth saga. Nazi Germany won World War II due to the baby Kryptonian known as Overman having landed in 1938 and raised by Adolf Hitler. The Gerechtigkeit Liga, or the JL Axis, acts as the superpowered agents of the party. One of the traits of this Earth society is that people are separated by their genes. Those with the strongest genes are taken away to breeding centers where they are forced to mate, while those with the weakest genes are killed in mass genocides. This version of the Justice League later became fighters for Monarch's army against the Monitors after being forced to fight in Monarch's arena. For the New 52 version, after the Flashpoint saga of DC in 2011, DC worlds and characters were rewritten, and it also marked the birth of the New 52 multiverse. One of the universes here is Earth 10, an unfortunate universe where Kal-El landed on Earth in Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia in 1938. Nazi scientists reverse-engineered his ship's technology to win World War II, with the grown Kal-El raised by Adolf Hitler himself and named Overman to mock the American fictional hero Superman, finishing the conquest of Earth personally in 1956. 60 years later, his people have inherited a Nazi utopia built on unimaginable bloodshed. On this earth, English is considered a dead language due to the conquest of all English-speaking nations. America was renamed Germanica. A now guilt-ridden Overman leads both the state and the super champions of the new Reichsmen in their war against the last rebels, Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters. Unbeknownst to the Freedom Fighters, their cause was being manipulated by the gentry, who, via their agent that reality is Dr. Sivana, corrupted and twisted the fighters' cause and methods. As a result of their actions, along with the manipulations of Overman, Metropolis and every person living there was killed by the falling eagle's nest. Fast forward to 2019, during the rebirth era of DC, we saw the fate of the first batch of the Freedom Fighters. In 1963, Freedom Fighters was led by Jesse Owens. When they conspired in a book depository in Dallas, they were ambushed by the PlaSSticmen who abducted them. They were all executed except for Uncle Sam, who narrowly escaped by dematerializing as the patriotic spirit of the American people faded. Many years later, a new generation of the Freedom Fighters are taking a stand against the Nazi power until they were stopped by the Iron Fleece. In the Arrowverse version, the history of Earth X has one major difference. During World War II, the Nazis emerged victorious after nuking New York, London, Paris, and Moscow, forcing the complete surrender of the United States and United Kingdom while annihilating the USSR altogether. They created a worldwide new Reich called the Fatherland, and after that, the Nazi forces spread out across the world, conquering everything in their path, including their former allies in Europe and Asia. As they did so, the Schutzstaffel set up outposts throughout Europe and the Americas from which to establish complete and total domination. The Führer Hitler reigned over his worldwide new Reich for another 49 years until his death from natural causes in 1994. As of the present time, order was maintained by a small cadre of evil enforcers that included Tommy Merlin, Prometheus, Metallo, Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, and was helmed by the Führer Oliver Queen, Dark Arrow, and his wife Kara, Overgirl. Lastly, in the DC Animated Universe or DCAU version, remember Amazo? In the distant reaches of space, the cosmically powerful android Amazo was resuming his quest to understand his own purpose, following a mysterious voice in his mind. He discovered a quantum vortex which took the form of a room with mirrored walls and floor. He heard the voice calling to him from beyond the mirrors and attacked the wall with all his might, creating a tiny crack which begins to leak energy from beyond the glass. Amazo continues to strike the walls of the mirrored room, driven on by the voice refusing to give straight answers to his questions. The voice told Amazo to find the answers in his own soul, but Amazo believed he does not have one. This breakage has caused for different residents of DCAU universe to be transported randomly into either the dimension of Earth X or the reality of Earth D. Example, Overman of Earth X being transported to DCAU and Earth D Superman and DCAU Superman being transported onto Earth X. Overman fought the DCAU Justice League while DCAU and Earth D Superman fought the Nazi forces in Earth X. This Earth X is still ruled by the Nazi Party, but its world history is a bit different. In the 1940s, the Allied forces defeated the Axis power in World War II. However, Vandal Savage reconstituted the Nazi Party and led it to victory over America, founding the Fourth Reich shortly before 1960. The only remaining resistance was General Zod's Freedom Fighters. Overman here had a different backstory and fresh new enemies in the resistance. The main ruler of this version of Earth X is Vandal Savage, while Brainiac armies are under his command. Now, let's meet the residents of Earth X. First, let's see the members of the Justice League Axis or of the new Reichsmen. Number 1 on our list is Overman. Kal-El or Overman is the Nazi version of Superman and is also a member of the Justice League Axis and later on of the new Reichsmen. As a baby, he was sent to Earth by his parents from the dying planet of Krypton and landed in the Nazi-occupied Sudetenland in 1938. Nazi scientists reverse engineered the technology of his rocket to win the war. He was raised by Adolf Hitler and became known as Overman. He became associated with the Justice League Axis, who are the main operatives of Hitler. Under Hitler's authority, the German forces and Overman conquered other nations, concluding with the subjugation of Washington, D.C. on April 20th, 1956. After being gone for 3 years, Overman returned and saw the horrors of the Holocaust. He later became an outspoken critic of genocide while serving the Nazi state alongside the New Reichsmen. The New Reichsmen have previously faced a group known as the Luthor League, along with the Star Conqueror and Kanjaro. In time, Nazi scientists succeeded in cloning Overman's genetic material. One of the clone became a monster called Anti-Human, while the other became Overgirl. Overman treated Overgirl like family. During the final Crisis story arc, Overgirl went missing. While looking for her, he was contacted by Monitor Zillo Vala with a proposal. She would help him find Overgirl if he helped her save the universe. Overman accepted her terms. On the stories that followed, he helped save numerous worlds from the destructive form of the Echo of Midnight. While he outlived the adventures, he did not find Overgirl as Vala was killed before giving the information. Overman ultimately learned of Overgirl's fate from the Question, and together with the Supermen of the Multiverse, he joined in the final attack against Mandrake. Later, Overman, who was guilt-ridden by decades of Nazi oppression and overwrought by Overgirl's death, helped the freedom fighters by giving them information to sabotage their satellite headquarters, the Eagle's Nest, into crashing it into Metropolis, killing the New Reichsmen and the Nazis. The DCAU Overman has a little difference. The baby Kal-El was shot into space by his birth parents to escape the destruction of his home planet of Krypton. His rocket landed on Earth, where he was found and raised by the Nazi dictator Vandal Savage. Kal-El was then called Karl Kant. He grew up to become the Reich's primary enforcer and a symbol of Aryan power. Overman fell in love with a reporter named Lois Lane, who was secretly a spy working for General Zod and his freedom fighters. When he learned of her betrayal, Overman personally executed her. Although he had shown the ultimate loyalty to Savage, he was still deeply traumatized by Lois's death, so Savage had his scientists suppress Overman's memories of her and his grief. One day, because of DCAU Amazo's tampering of the Vortex Wall, Overman suddenly found himself transported to a strange room with a dark-haired woman. He demanded to know where he was and what had happened and attacked her. He quickly realized he was on another world and planned to conquer it for the Reich. The woman shot him with a gun powered by something called kryptonite, but he was not hurt by it. He blasted her with his heat vision, but subconsciously recognized her as Lois and spared her life, then simply flying away. He fought the DCAU Justice League and was able to match them all, but the Martian Manhunter was able to defeat him with a psychic attack, forcing him to relive his memories of Lois. The League imprisoned him, but the dimensional shifts which had brought him to their world continued and accelerated, causing chaos around the world. Manhunter sensed what he believed was the source of the cosmic shifts, and the League decided to follow his intuition into a vortex which appeared above Earth. Although they did not trust him, they decided to bring Overman with them as they believed his strength may prove useful. The League reached the mirrored room and were able to convince Amazo not to destroy the barriers between universes. However, the being beyond the mirrors called to Overman, and he destroyed the barriers, freeing it. Amazo too gave the assembled heroes a vision of fighting against it, while in reality they were all suspended motionless in space. In the shared illusion, Overman chose to fight against the League, deciding his revenge against them was more important than the survival of the multiverse. Amazo 2 destroyed the entire multiverse, including Overman, but he and all of reality were recreated by the life equation. Overman was returned to Earth X, and with his memories of Lois restored and racked with guilt over his actions, he turned himself over to the freedom fighters for trial. Next is the Nazi version of Wonder Woman, and her name is Brunhilde. Brunhilde is a Valkyrie of the Norse mythology who is a member of the Justice League Axis, a group that was eventually known as the New Reichsmen. Brunhilde helped the Nazis during World War II and thus assisting them in taking over the planet.
When Forerunner Visa Aziv arrived on Earth 10 to enlist superhumans for the Monarch's army, Brunhilde confronted her but was defeated, and eventually became a recruit. This Wonder Woman is considerably different from the original version. She is a Valkyrie who has been posted to this world from Asgard. She advocates the Holocaust as holy furnaces, and Odin is mentioned as her source of faith that the weak must be weeded from humanity. In the pages of Multiversity Mastermen, Brunhilde is illustrated as a hardcore member of the Reichsmen who abhors the very existence of the freedom fighters.
This new 52 Brunhilde turned her back on Overman when he showed signs of weakness. Third is U-Man or Underwater Man.
This Earth 10 version of Aquaman is an unwilling member of the new Reichsmen. He has regrets towards the massacres committed by the Nazis while his people evaded the extermination camps because they were considered by the Nazis as the root of the Aryan race.
Underwater Man and Leatherwing were the first victims of the human bomb when he exploded the eagle's nest from within.
Fourth is Leatherwing. Leatherwing is one of the operatives of the Justice League Axis and of the new Reichsmen. Like Overman and Brunhilde, Leatherwing was recruited by Visa Aziv to join Monarch's army in waging war against the Monitors. During the battle, Leatherwing was attracted to Visa Aziv even if he is typically against interracial relationships in Earth 10. However, Visa Aziv directly rejected him. Leatherwing was later seen on Earth 51 fighting against the Monitors along with the other members of the Justice League Axis. In the Multiversity story arc, it was mentioned that his grandfather was Von Hammer, whose counterpart is called Enemy Ace in New Earth, a German aristocrat during the two world wars.
Leatherwing discovered that Uncle Sam had new access to advanced weapons, training facilities, and a superhuman program, and he is the only one who suspects that Overman could be the traitor among them.
Fifth is Overgirl. Supergirl's counterpart, Overgirl, was cloned from Overman, who came to regard her as his treasured cousin. Overgirl is the only successful clone of Overman's genetic material. Excluding the dreadful aberration known as anti-human, all the others died. Overgirl had less than half of Overman's power, speed, strength, and stamina, which is still substantial. She is the first metahuman from Earth 10 to cross the bleed barrier between the multiverse. During the Final Crisis story arc, she fell into the bleed and arrived on New Earth within short distance from the Question. Close to death, she was found instantly by the armies of Shade and was taken to headquarters of Checkmate for further analysis. Nevertheless, Overman confronted the bleed with Monitor Zilovala to get her back, but she fell in battle in spite of this. In Arrowverse's Crisis on Earth X, Overgirl is one of the Nazi generals, a member of the New Reich, and Earth X wife of Dark Arrow. Here, Overgirl was dying and needed the heart of Supergirl to prolong her life, which was one of the reasons why Overgirl and Dark Arrow tried to conquer their Earth. However, at the end of the crisis, they failed to steal the heart and Overgirl exploded. In Freedom Fighters The Ray, which is said to be a prequel to Crisis on Earth X, Overgirl is the main muscle of the Nazi army in Tulsa, Oklahoma, together with Black Arrow and Blitzkrieg. She successfully killed Red Tornado and Dollman on the first act. The Ray of Earth X went to Earth 1 to hide the neural cortex of Red Tornado. On his death, Ray of Earth X transferred his powers to Ray of Earth 1 and gave the neural cortex. Overgirl followed in Earth 1 and retrieved the cortex. However, at the end of the movie, she was overpowered by the Ray, and many have hypothesized that Ray's power may have caused the solar radiation poisoning of Overgirl in the Crisis on Earth X crossover. On the Crisis on Earth X crossover still, Dark Arrow is one of the primary antagonists together with Overgirl and Eobard Thawne. He is the Nazi version of Earth 1's Green Arrow, the husband of Overgirl, and the last Führer of the New Reich. Dark Arrow and Overgirl went to Earth 1 to capture Supergirl to steal her heart and implant it to Overgirl to save her from solar radiation poisoning and from going supernova. They also planned to conquer Earth 1. Born on Earth X, Dark Arrow was raised and programmed into the principles of the Third Reich. He then fell in love with the Kryptonian refugee Overgirl and eventually married her. These two quickly became a power couple of the new Reich. In the end, he was killed by the Green Arrow of Earth-1, which led to the fall of the new Reich in Earth-X. In Freedom Fighters The Ray, Dark Arrow is known as Black Arrow and is second in command to Overgirl. Next is Prometheus. Tommy Merlin's version in Earth-X, Prometheus, was captured by the heroes after the battle at Barry and Ares' wedding. Growing up in Earth-X, he did not go to school, but instead was immersed into youth groups and subjected to military training from an early age on. Oliver and Tommy Merlin were also best friends in Earth-X. Number 8 is Blitzkrieg. The Flash of Earth-10 has 3 versions. First one, published in 2007, is still called The Flash, but he has a yellow suit with 2 S on his chest and is a member of the Justice League Axis. Second is Blitzen, published during the Multiversity series, who is a female member of the new Reichsmen. She is sometimes called Lightning and dons a half-face shield and a helmet similar to that of Jay Garrick's.
Blitzen focused on saving as many civilians as she can during the first attack of the Freedom Fighters.
Third is Blitzkrieg, who is part of Overgirl's team in CW's Freedom Fighters The Ray movie. Blitzkrieg is a member of the new Reichsmen and wears a distinctive speedster suit of black color decorated on the chest with an SS symbol. Together with Overgirl and Black Arrow, they are the main villains against the Freedom Fighters in Tulsa, Oklahoma of Earth-X. On the recent retelling of the Freedom Fighters story, the PlaSSticmen were the main villainous metahumans. They are not members of Overman's Reichsmen, but they are loyal soldiers reporting directly to Hitler. In this series, America was conquered by the Nazis in 1956. A small group of resistance known as the Freedom Fighters was eventually formed by Uncle Sam and a former Olympian sprinter, Jesse Owens. This group also had many metahumans, including the original Phantom Lady, the original Dollman, the original Human Bomb, the Ray, and the original Black Condor. However, at some point, Phantom Lady and the Ray were killed. Then, in a 1963 meeting of the Freedom Fighters, the PlaSSticmen disguised themselves as various objects and overwhelmed and captured the Freedom Fighters. The next day, the metahumans of the Freedom Fighters were executed in brutal ways and Owens was sent to the labor camps. However, Uncle Sam managed to escape the PlaSSticmen. 55 years later, a new batch of Freedom Fighters appeared. It was revealed that the PlaSSticmen are created from people drinking the formula. However, once they drink the formula, even if they get all the powers similar to PlaSSticmen, their life expectancy is only months, not years. Phantom Lady was able to defeat the PlaSSticmen in 2 occasions.
Raphael Van Zandt, aka the Silver Ghost, is a major enemy of the Freedom Fighters and is called by many names such as the Butcher of Moscow, the Slaughterer of Sophia, and the Nightmare of Old London. He is a cold-hearted zealot who would stop at nothing to strike fear at the hearts of enemies. Silver Ghost has the power to transform objects and his enemies into silver. Although he was first seen in Earth-1, he was eventually revealed to be an immigrant from Earth-X, a Nazi who had traveled to Earth-1 in pursuit of Firebrand, the alleged collaborator who had seemingly betrayed him. During his first encounter with the Freedom Fighters, he turned Phantom Lady, the Black Condor, and Dollman into statues of solid silver. In the Convergence series, he worked with the Freedom Fighters to defeat the sentient and highly advanced robot soldiers of the future's end timeline. In the end, Silver Ghost ended up exploding with the robots when he tried to double-cross PlaSSticmen. Baron Blitzkrieg was another major opponent of the Freedom Fighters. He believes he is the living incarnation of the Thousand-Year Reich, originally an especially vicious German army officer who was blinded when a concentration camp prisoner threw acid into his face. German scientists experimented on Blitzkrieg, giving injections of experimental drugs designed to siphon off the mind's vast energies. This allowed him full control for brief periods of his body's resources. At any given instant, he could have superhuman strength, or be incredibly swift, or have the ability to fly. His mask can also shoot laser beams.
This Earth-X version of Black Canary, Laurel Lance, aka Siren X, was born within the New Reich. Possessing immense metahuman powers, she grew up to become an assassin and a treasured member of the New Reichsmen, an elite division of the Schutzstaffel. Siren X was in love with the Führer Dark Arrow, but he did not reciprocate this affection. When the Nazi rulers were defeated during the Crisis on Earth X event, Siren X was one of the last remaining Nazi forces and she asserted to avenge their death. On the 4th season of The Flash, when Leo Snart was chasing Siren X on Earth X, Siren X knocked him with a canary cry, declining to surrender. As Siren X was about to kill Leo, he was visited and at the same time rescued by Vibe and the Flash because they need his help in Earth 1. They escaped through Vibe's portal, but Siren X used her scream to keep it open, allowing her to travel to Earth 1. Siren X then found Leo through echolocation. She heard their plan to take Neil Borman or Fallout to Keystone City away from Clifford DeVoe and chased them. While transporting Fallout, Siren X managed to steal Leo's cold gun and kidnap Caitlin Snow, Joe West, and Fallout. Siren X then brought them to the Central City Police Department to instigate a nuclear explosion from Fallout as a form of revenge. Siren X used her scream so Fallout can explode faster. However, Flash used his speed to knock Laurel against the railing, and Caitlin and Leo used 2 cold guns to suppress Fallout. She was then presumed to have been taken back to Earth X. Now, let's talk about the astonishing members of the Freedom Fighters.
First is Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam is the beating heart of America. He is the personification of the belief in American freedom. Like most of the Freedom Fighters, he was first published by Quality Comics and made his first appearance in 1940 in National Comics #1. He was illustrated as a mystical being who was the spirit of a patriotic soldier from the American Revolutionary War and appears whenever his country needs him. When DC acquired Quality Characters, it established Uncle Sam as the leader of the Freedom Fighters and placed them in Earth X.
It was later retconned in All-Star Squadron series in 1984 that the pre-crisis Freedom Fighters were originally from Earth 2 Golden Age. Uncle Sam was fighting Nazi spies when a red, white, and blue portal appeared and transported him to Earth X, where the Nazis were winning. He went back to Earth 2 and recruited Red Torpedo, Magneto the Magnetic Man, Miss America, Neon the Unknown, Invisible Hood, and Arrowman. However, the entire team died when a Japanese aircraft kamikazed right into them. Uncle Sam barely survived but filled with guilt from his team's death, and it took him years before he was able to come back to Earth 2. From there, he recruited a second batch, which consisted the pre-crisis Freedom Fighters.
In the Spectre series, Uncle Sam's origin was rewritten, where he is described as a spiritual being created through an occult ceremony by the Founding Fathers. Uncle Sam has numerous powers, including invulnerability, super strength, the capability to alter his size, increase speed, creating force shields, and some amount of clairvoyance. He can also transport himself and the team to a pocket dimension called the Heartland. Pre-crisis, Uncle Sam transported the team to Earth X from Earth 2. His powers are told to be in direct proportion to the belief people have in the idea of the American way. However, Father Time in Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters describes that Uncle Sam is not a human, meta-human, nor a magical being.
Attack!
Then we have Phantom Lady.
Phantom Lady is a member of the Freedom Fighters in Earth X. She first appeared in Police Comics #1, published by Quality Comics in 1941. Police Comics is an anthology where PlaSSticmen and the Human Bomb first appeared. The scanty costume of Phantom Lady was said to be deliberately placed to distract her male foes. DC Comics acquired the rights to Quality Comic characters in 1956 and reintroduced Phantom Lady after 17 years as part of Freedom Fighters together with other former Quality heroes in Justice League of America #107 in 1973. As was done by DC with many of the characters they acquired from other publishers, the Freedom Fighters, including Phantom Lady, were repositioned to a parallel universe, which is Earth X. The team later had their own series that ran from 1976 to 1978, wherein they momentarily left Earth X and went to Earth 1. Here, Phantom Lady was given tangible phantom-like powers such as emitting black rays and phasing. Her black beams can also absorb energy. She can also create holes from the ground using her gloves. In the comic series Phantom Lady and Dollman, her black light gloves gives her the ability to manifest darkness in various forms of black fog, hard light objects, and living shadows. She can bring darkness through her shadow slide, and her goggles allow her to see in total darkness with 3D relay vision. In the Arrowverse, she can create spheres that can sink enemies into total darkness. In the 2019 series, she can also create portals. Also from Quality Comics, Dollman was created by cartoonist Will Eisner during the golden age of comics and was introduced in Feature Comics number 27 in a 4-page story entitled Meet the Dollman. He was Quality's first superpowered person. He is considered the first comic book character who has the ability to shrink, predating the Atom, Ray Palmer, and Ant-Man of Marvel by 2 decades. Daryl Dane is a research chemist who invented a formula that enables him to shrink to the height of 6 inches while retaining the full power of his normal size. He is a tremendous athlete and a hand-to-hand combatant. In recent installments, Dollman has acquired psionic powers, enabling him to levitate objects or obliterate them with a mental blast. Dollman's special costume changes size as he does. The front covers of Dollman's comics commonly rendered him tied in ropes in positions ranging from crucifixion style to being tied to a running sink faucet to being hog-tied to a trigger and barrel of a handgun, which somewhat mirrored the bondage of the early books of Wonder Woman. Like Phantom Lady, Dollman became part of the Freedom Fighters in Earth X when DC acquired and relaunched these characters in 1976. In the 3rd issue of Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters version 2, Dollman appeared as the leader of a rebellious group of doll-sized soldiers. He revealed that the years spent at condensed size have injured his mind, making him mentally unstable.
That's not good.
Super not good.
In the 2019 series of the Freedom Fighters, Donna Caprice, aka the Doll Woman, is a known pacifist until the Nazi army killed her husband John, the second Dollman. She then decided to devote her life to revenge and joined the Freedom Fighters. Her main ability is size alteration. Her power set permits her to shrink down to approximately 6 inches in height but retain full-size strength and force. She has skills in electrical engineering, martial arts, gymnastics, and handling firearms. Richard Gray Jr., the first Black Condor, was also created by Quality Comics by Will Eisner in the 1940s. He was transferred to DC Comics and became part of the Freedom Fighters in their fight in World War II. Ryan Kendall, the second Black Condor, obtained the ability to fly because of genetic manipulation, but he was slaughtered at the beginning of the Infinite Crisis story arc. John Trujillo, the third Black Condor, is of Mayan ancestry and achieved his powers from the Mayan spider goddess Tocatl. He perceives himself as a protector of the universe and joined the Freedom Fighters. He first appeared when he single-handedly rescued the Freedom Fighters who had been overpowered by Agents of Shade. Black Condor has a greater strength than an average person, but he has superhuman durability, surviving many forms of physical attack. He has limited telepathic abilities that permit him to move some objects with his thoughts while radiating a blue aura. Lastly, Black Condor can fly with amazing speeds.
Black Condor, Uncle Sam, and Phantom Lady made an appearance in the 2024 animated trilogy movie of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Another originally published by Quality Comics is The Human Bomb. Roy Lincoln is a talented chemist working with his father on a distinct explosive chemical named 27QRX. When Nazi spies attacked his lab and killed his father, he ingested the chemical to avoid the Nazis from getting it. As a result, Lincoln gained the power to trigger explosions in any object he touches. He wears fibrowax gloves to control it and a containment suit to avert any accidental explosions. The human bomb can absorb, store, and convert energy to generate a biochemical explosion, which is a single touch, but if he uses kinetic force by hitting an object harder, the force of the explosion is also increased. The human bomb is a pivotal character in Multiversity Mastermen. As a member of the Freedom Fighters, he took a solo mission to sabotage and deorbit the new Reichsman satellite called the Eagle's Nest and crash it into the Nazi-dominated American city of Metropolis, killing millions. This version of the human bomb is also invulnerable.
Created by Lou Fine, Langford Happy Terrill, aka The Ray, first appeared in Smash Comics in 1940 by Quality Comics.
Ray Terrill, or the Ray, absorbs, stores, and utilizes light energy to fly and generate devastating bursts of coherent radiation and powerful light beams. His energy capacity is practically limitless. He can manipulate light visibly to create illusions and even solid-like constructs, as well as making himself invisible. He can completely transform his body into any wavelength of the electromagnetic spectrum. In radiation form, he is not affected by any physical attack, and he can use it to easily heal by resetting any part of his body through converting to radiation. As pure energy, it can move at the speed of light and traverse space unaided. In Freedom Fighters The Ray from Earth X was badly wounded by Blitzkrieg in the first act. He was then tasked to hide Red Tornado's neural cortex. Despite Vibe's plan of sending Ray to Earth 1, the Ray did not survive his interdimensional trip. He arrived at the House of Ray of Earth 1, gave him the cortex, and allowed himself to die so he can transfer his photokinetic powers to his doppelganger. Ray of Earth 1 then went to Earth X to help Freedom Fighters, where he was able to defeat Overgirl. In CW's Crisis on Earth X crossover, portrayed by Russell Tovey, the Ray from Earth 1 has been fighting on Earth X, where he developed a relationship with Leo Snart, Captain Cold's Earth X counterpart. He was caught by the Nazis and was placed in one of the concentration camps where he met the heroes from Earth 1. But they were saved by Leo Snart right before being executed. Ray then assisted the displaced heroes into returning to Earth 1 to defeat Overgirl, Dark Arrow, and Reverse Flash. Ray returned to Earth X to help the Freedom Fighters against the New Reich. During the 2020 Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Ray was shown on Earth X when a wave of red antimatter obliterated their world.
During the post-Crisis era, the Ray of Earth 10 was made to fight during the Countdown Arena series against the Ray of Earth 6 and Apollo from Earth 50. However, he soon died when he tried to escape the arena.
Earth X's Citizen Cold, or Leo Snart, is a rebel. He's an active member of the Freedom Fighters and the husband of Ray Terrill. In the Crisis on Earth X crossover, he helped the Ray and the heroes of Earth 1 escape the Nazi camps. At the end of the crossover, he decided to join the Legends of Tomorrow to use his skills as psychotherapy to help them with the death of Martin Stein. He later helped Team Flash in capturing Siren X. The Cisco Ramon of Earth X is also a member of the Freedom Fighters. His powers allowed him to create an interdimensional portal for the Ray to travel to Earth 1. While doing mission control waiting for Ray of Earth X, Vibe was captured by Blitzkrieg, where they discover Earth 1. Overgirl was then able to follow Ray to Earth 1, where she met the new Ray and took the Cortex. Aside from opening interdimensional portals, Vibe can manipulate various vibrations from the multiverse. He can generate powerful vibrational blasts and a magnificent computer specialist.
If I were waiting for a pizza, it would be free by now.
Finally, Red Tornado was a secret weapon of the resistance leader General Wynn against the Nazi Schutzstaffel forces. In Freedom Fighters The Ray, Red Tornado carries in his neural cortex all of the secret locations of all the resistance forces. He was effectively destroyed by Overgirl, but he gave the cortex to Ray, who hid it in Earth 1. In the comic book tie-in of the 2020 Arrowverse event, Crisis on Infinite Earths, a repaired Red Tornado with the Ray, Phantom Lady, and Black Condor were battling the remaining Nazi forces when a wave of antimatter chased them out of existence.
Of course, we cannot finish Quality Comics characters that were transferred to Earth X if we don't discuss PlaSSticmen. PlaSSticmen Patrick Eel O'Brien is a superhero featured in American comic books, first appearing in Police Comics #1, originally published by Quality Comics and later acquired by DC Comics. Created by cartoonist Jack Cole, PlaSSticmen was one of the first superheroes to incorporate humor into mainstream action storytelling. This character has been published in several solo series and has interacted with other characters such as Batman and many others in the mainstream DC universe as a member of the Justice League. However, during the Convergence series, PlaSSticmen was placed in Earth X and a member of the Freedom Fighters. Eel O'Brien was a petty thief and a hustler. On one of his failed transactions, he was thrown into a pool of chemicals that brought him his elastic capabilities. He was then taken in by the monks and learned a better way of living before becoming a member of the Freedom Fighters. Now, let's talk more about the DCAU Earth X residents. Vandal Savage is the seemingly immortal Nazi dictator of Earth X. Although the Nazis lost World War II, Savage reconstituted the Nazi Party in the decades after the war and led them to victory over America, completing the conquest shortly before 1960. Vandal's victory was based primarily on the powers of two aliens. He captured a Martian from his home and tortured him to use his telepathic abilities to facilitate the Reich's takeover, and he also discovered the infant Kal-El when he came to Earth and raised the child to be Overman, the chief enforcer of his regime. Although Reich propaganda depicted Savage as immortal, he was in fact merely extremely long-lived and eventually began to age into a feeble old man. He kept this a secret even from Overman, using android duplicates for public appearances. When Earth D and DCAU Superman were transferred to Earth X, the Freedom Fighters, with the help of the Supermen, were able to storm Savage's fortress. Savage believed that the world was ending and their battle was now pointless, although he took the time to murder Zod to ensure he died first. Zod's follower, Doomsday, wanted to kill Savage in retaliation, but Superman convinced him to let Savage live to stand trial as Zod would have wished. John Johns, later called Oracle by Vandal Savage, was captured by Vandal Savage and used his telepathic powers to manipulate his enemies, control people, and even divine the future. The tortured Martian eventually went mad and was left imprisoned in a laboratory. A weakening of the barriers between dimensions allowed John to reach out and telepathically contact another version of himself in a parallel world and call him to Earth X. He telepathically called the two Supermen to the laboratory and they freed him from his prison. He thanked the two Supermen for allowing him to again touch the minds of kind people and asked them to carry him to the courtyard where the Alliance had arrived. John transferred his knowledge of the source of the disturbances to his counterpart and finally died. Brainiac is an artificial intelligence which serves Vandal Savage and his Nazi regime on Earth X in building his Nazi utopia and his clones. Brainiac is distributed among hundreds of drones which can operate independently or join together into larger units and fight numerous combatants. Abraham Zodetska, aka General Zod, is the leader of the Freedom Fighters in the DCAU version of Earth X. Abraham Zodesta was born the son of a rabbi in a Jewish-American family at some point in the first half of the 20th century. When Abraham was a child, Vandal Savage refounded the Nazi Party and led it to world domination. Abraham joined an underground resistance group known as the Freedom Fighters, eventually becoming their leader and being known as General Zod. The Freedom Fighters did their best to bring down the Reich, but Savage's superhuman enforcer Overman was seemingly invincible. In desperation, some of Zod's followers volunteered for dangerous medical experiments to be granted powers of their own, often with severe side effects. One of those experiments was with Emil Hamilton, who turned into a version of Doomsday. This Doomsday obtained superhuman strength. Another experiment is Natasha, who volunteered to be given cybernetic implants and was named Metallo. This Metallo has many capabilities, including releasing multiple electric blasts. However, despite the artificial powers of the Freedom Fighters, they are still weak against Vandal's forces. Fortunately, Overman disappeared and was replaced by DCAU Superman and Earth D Superman, and they helped Zod in defeating the Nazis but not before dying at the hands of Vandal Savage.
Other Earth X characters are the Nazi versions of Hawkman and Hawkgirl,
A Nazi version of the Martian, who is a white Martian imperialist, and a Nazi Green Lantern,
Lena, a consort of Overman who needs a certain chemical to keep herself young, Jurgen Olsen, a TV reporter and Overman's friend, the Guardian, SS Sturmbannführer Quentin Lance, a Nazi major, General Winslow Winshot Jr., leader of the Resistance, Cyborg Overman, who is Heinrich Henshaw, Cash, comms guy to the Freedom Fighters, Rod Riley, aka Firebrand, who migrated to Earth X and operated as a spy against the Nazi,
the Iron Police, a group of enormous robots who enforce the party's rule in America, which are similar to the Sentinels of the X-Men, Metallo, a cybernetic servant of the Nazis in the Arrowverse Earth X, powered by kryptonite core,
And of course, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party.
and his descendant, Adolf Hitler II.
With all these alternative history characters, would you be interested with a live-action movie with Nazi versions of the Justice League? Tell us what you think and hit subscribe.